All right. So the time is 7:10, and I'd like to open up a public hearing on our ordinance that we're proposing, Taniscott Fire and Emergency Services Ordinance of the Town of Newcastle. This is a document that the board has been, members of the board and members of the fire company have been working on together to sort of craft the language and make it all work to create a department under the that's available to us under the main Constitution, Article 7, Article 12(1), Title 30A, MRSA, Section 3001 as amended. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. It defines the roles of the Taniscott Fire Company in conjunction with the town. I won't say department, but it's a municipal department that responds for fires, emergency services. So that's that. Does anyone have any comments? Does anyone want to go through certain sections? Board member have anything to add?
I wasn't part of the group that put this together, but it seems like everyone did a really good job, resolving the issues that there were and coming up with a document that's going to work for the town and for the fire company and really help us move forward. So I commend everyone who was in those meetings.
I mean, I think just to say, I see this as a total team effort.
Yeah.
One way or another, I think we got to this point, which is good. And I think we have this support of the fire company, which is what we were hoping for. And we definitely have the support of this select board. So thanks for the comment, but I think it was a team effort for everybody involved here.
Yeah. I think it was a good experience, again, to learn. We learned a lot about the workings of the fire company, how they operate, what their needs are, and I think it's gonna really help, create a wonderful relationship in the future, and just making sure that everyone gets what they need, and I think it's great. It's been banging our heads against the wall quite a bit, but I think we really came up with something. So for those who haven't read the ordinance, I think the idea is sort of summed up. I think it's important to at least read the purpose, 103 purpose, which is the purpose of this ordinance shall be to establish the scope of the fire department as defined in 30A section 3151. 1, to establish appointment procedures and define the powers and duties of the chief, to define the guidelines and procedures under which the department shall operate, and provide the maximum legal protection for the firefighters. Newcastle Fire Company Incorporated shall, under the supervision of the fire chief, facilitate and manage trainings and non-municipal grants, and shall be governed by their bylaws and articles of incorporation. So again, this is the purpose, is to make these definitions clear, make the purpose clear, provide maximum protection for the firefighters, for the town, and then as the document progresses, it just goes through all the different roles of the fire chief, personnel, how things operate. And I think this was the part that was the most interesting working with members of the fire company with, is that I think a lot of the language that's sort of in the boilerplate, it's in the boilerplate model that towns use when they're setting up departments similar to this. didn't quite fit exactly, didn't accurately represent how things happen. So I think with this document, we're actually getting a really good snapshot and a really clear perspective for the entire town to see how the department operates, how the fire company manages the trainings and what they do and all the extra work that everyone puts in. And I think that's been sort of the overarching goal in this whole exercise. And I think that having that understanding, having that clearly defined, having it out there, permanent record, part of it's on our town website. Everyone can understand. They say, how does the fire department operate? What do they do? Look at this document. It lays it out. You can see exactly how the chief operates, how the town works with the Newcastle Fire Company Incorporated, and just sort of lays it all out. So I'll get you in a second, Norman. Did anyone from the fire company have anything to add? Or
would like to say it was, I want to thank everyone involved with it. Sarah, select board members were helping. It was a lot of work, a lot of back and forth. I think this does represent, for the most part, exactly how we were operating pretty much anyway. I think we all agreed. There's a few little things we had to hammer out on, responsibility insurance and kind of stuff like that, the stuff that was kind of ambiguous before. It was there, but it wasn't in writing type of thing. So I think that's what we did. There was a lot of work, and thank everyone for everything.
Yeah, thank you.
yeah. No, it was a great experience. So I mean, it was we had fun the whole time. I don't know what you're doing. You laughed. Come on. We had a great time. No, seriously, the small group that we worked with, we really did. We would hit words and these, and again, that's where the understanding, I think that's where it really helped us bridge and create a deeper understanding. And I think that's the most important thing about this as well. It's not just that we have a document that protects the firefighters to the ultimate, ability that we have, and defines all these, how everything works so that it's clear to anyone stepping into this position on the select board. They can review this and they say, how does the fire department operate? And you just go through and you see, okay, this is how everything goes. You have questions that you can ask if you need clarification, and you have it there. But I think really what I gained from this was just a deeper knowledge of the workings of it. And it's nice to see. I mean, positive.
I just want, I wish there was a way that we could keep on, because, understanding, hearing your stories, because I gotta say, just hearing anecdotal, just, whatever they have as far as story. Well, actually, this is how it works, when we respond to an emergency. This is the way, and that's stuff that, and just being able to hear the details of how that works is important. I wish we could carry on that conversation in some way. Maybe we have a beer Thursday or something. But that's getting into the brass tacks of it. And I think that's why it works, is understanding.
I think we had to get to that point because there were certain pieces on both sides that we weren't over the top with the definition of word. Why did it have to be that
Right.
way? Understanding that side of it was one reason we could make it work anyway. Because once we all got both sides understanding the little pieces of what you needed, what we needed, that's when it went smooth.
Yeah.
Till you get into that detail.
And I think the lessons learned there, with communication, with accountability, so don't get to this.
Yeah. And one thing I would say that in having some of these discussions very early on, there were a couple, we were hitting some boulders trying to figure out how to move forward. And I forget who it was, but someone was talking about how proud they were of the Newcastle Fire Company. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but the point I was trying to drive home was that I wanted them to be proud of that fire company, and I wanted the entire town to be proud of everything that we have here. The fire company, the the building that we have, all the work, everything that the taxpayers, contribute, everything that the company and the firefighters contribute. And I think that in this whole thing, it's not that not that I wasn't ever proud of it, but I feel a deeper sense of pride surrounding the fire department, the fire company, everything that we've got here. And I think that it's really cool that the name of this ordinance is the Taniscott, has Taniscott in there. It's a identity to the town. This really is covering us to the letter of the law, what we're allowed through the Maine Constitution to do, to create something like this, but we have made it our own. And so I think that's what I'm proud of this. So I thank everybody for that. Hope everyone else is too. So, yeah, Norman, you had something.
Well, I don't want to interfere with anything here.
You want to talk to him?
Is this public meeting?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You want to hit a mic? You want to state your name?
Come on up here, Norm. Come on up, sir.
Well, I just read Lee County News. I thought this was a public meeting.
It is a public meeting.
Therefore, I thought the public had a chance to.
I'm giving you the chance. You're talking right now.
And I'm not trying to interfere. I was a member of the fire department about 50 years ago. Was very active and very good. I still own the bedroom I was born in Newcastle. And
Yeah.
So they called me, I got the name, the Know Nothing native of Newcastle. And so I've been active, and I'm very proud of the Newcastle Fire Department. They have been a very strong company, done an excellent job. And I don't know what they're doing wrong. And in my life of business, it's working, don't fix it. Why fix it? It's working. So I don't know what wasn't working to have to fix it. And I've always been a 4-H member when I was in high school. And the model of 4-H is do the best you can every day and do it better tomorrow. Why did we have to have this nice page written up? It doesn't tell me that the company's going to have better spirit, better attitude, better firefighters. I don't see it. At least I don't see it. Why is it going to be better? To me, there's nothing more important in town, in any town, to have a strong fire department. Everybody, every citizen, me included. We have my biggest investment is in my real estate, my buildings.
Yeah.
When I go talk with an insurance company, and I do, they get prices like anything else, get price from this company, that company. They always look at their fire company. Look at what you got. I'm always, anyway. So my question is, I got 3 or 4 of them. One, what caused this? Why did we have to, when it's working, why do we have to fix it better? And if we fix it, is it better? Stronger? Yeah. And then I wanted to, and are we going to have a better fire protection from this? I'm looking for it.
The big thing with this is if you look at how we were operating, from my understanding,
Yep.
everything we've read and looked at, and there's a lot of overshadowing different ordinances, not ordinance, excuse me, state statutes and this. We were in between a lot of those. So it's very ambiguous on how we were covered as firefighters, how the town was covered for liability. This is making that clear. Like I said in the beginning, when I said my whole thing, most of this is exactly how we were already operating. But what it does allow us to be is now the firefighter, the company, the town is all covered by all the torts, the insurance, liabilities, anything like that is now covered because of what we've done. Some will say, but did you have to? Well, in this day and age, yeah, you probably did, because everyone's looking for a corner somewhere. And if they see a chink, they'll find it in a court law. They'll get somebody involved. That's what this takes care of.
So is the fire company, members of the fire company happy with this?
Honestly, I don't think the fire members probably don't, this doesn't bother them one bit, one way or the other. I'm around with I'm around. This helps us as a town and us as, we're all citizens of Newcastle. This helps us with our liability and our coverage, helps us as firefighters. So now I am solidly covered if something happens on a fire scene. There's no chance that I'm not gonna be covered because I can't go to work. Something like that.
You are a member of the fire
Yes, sir, I'm assistant chief. Jim
company.
Taylor.
So you're happy with it?
Yes,
I mean, once the fire company is happy with it.
Yes.
then I'm happy.
yeah, like I said, this pretty much, we were running pretty much to what this said.
Okay,
The few changes we've had are just for the legal part of insurance coverages and to make sure it understands this is covered for the tour, the standards, all of that, what that covers.
yeah, but I'm concerned with, I read in the paper, you know, people having, towns are having a hard time to get volunteers to work in the fire department. And it's, we have, and I run a business where I affect people. And big, get good help and keep good help. I wanted, as a citizen, a taxpayer, and being on in this town close to 80 years in the summer, you know, I like to think that we're doing something to make it better for the, make the part stronger. The members of the fire department, the enthusiasm and the teamwork. That's we need. When there's a fire, we need teamwork and enthusiasm. And so that's what I'm concerned with. During the discussion along the way, first heard about this. By the members, and they weren't quite happy with the changes. And that's all. I'm not here criticizing. I'm trying to. I hope to leave here tonight and go home. Leave here with the attitude, yes, it's better than it was. And when I see another fellow citizen in town, I can convince him that it's better. That's what I'm here. And
I believe this will make things better in the long run. It's going to be a change for everybody to start with, because this is something new.
Yeah.
Anything's new.
oh, sure.
But I think in the long run now, we've got this defined and everybody's got the protections, the citizens, everybody. I think this is going to be the best way to go.
Okay, then my answer is, as long as the members, I mean, me as a citizen, the only thing I want, now, 911 for fire.
We're on the way.
I want to get, now I had a fire down in Princeton.
Norman,
and the fire truck-
I think we got to keep this to the ordinance. Thank you very much, but we got to
fire truck showed up
keep this to the
very
ordinance,
quickly with
Norman.
20 cars behind it.
It's great.
There was no water in the fire truck.
Does anyone?
No, so I'm a concerned citizen. I pay taxes.
Yep.
$22,000.
Yep.
And maybe I'm out of order. Maybe I shouldn't even come.
No, you can come. Oh,
As a
we're just,
citizen and as a past member, and they, how many people still own the bedroom they were born in this town? And
I
so-
do. Well, not in this town, but in Bremen. Sorry. I was born in Bremen.
Anyway, so if I'm out of order, I can leave. I don't need to leave
Yeah.
here. But
No.
I came here because I want.
And-
I don't know how many people are coming.
And that's why this ordinance is so important for the fire company and the town, is that we want to show that we're all in support of this. And that's what this document does. This document supports the firefighters, the ones risking their lives, to the ultimate ability. And that is the overarching goal out of all this, because it doesn't matter, what you have, how, fancy the equipment is, whatever you've got. If you're not protecting the people who are actually doing the work, it's not acceptable. And so and that's what this ordinance does. And that's why we work together to come up and clarify. So
With the idea that we made the best better.
definitely.
And all the members of the fire department are happy.
Yep. Amen to that.
That's all I want.
Yep.
I want them happy.
Sounds like everybody's happy.
Yeah, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
Because as a citizen, that's what I'm concerned with.
I'm happy. You're happy. I'm happy. They're happy. I think we're all happy. But no, I think the idea was that in going through all the discussions that we've been through throughout the year, that we come out with something good and positive, and we learn, and that's where we're at. So I just wanted to make sure that the members of the fire company that are here, they're representing the company, and other citizens, just again, feel comfortable with the the purpose of this ordinance, and that's really what this really lays out exactly what the meaning of this whole thing is. And the rest of it is just a bunch of, it's important words, and it's important to define it. But again, that purpose is really the meat and potatoes of this ordinance. So I've reviewed this. Other members have. You guys have reviewed this latest copy. So I think it's pretty cool when you have a public hearing and you don't have any changes, right? Giant changes that you have to make. It makes legal counsel happy. So
As happy as I get.
yeah. I'm sorry. Can you state your name and just sort of get to the mic? I know it's hard, but this guy scowls at me every time I don't tell someone to do it. And he's already been wagging his finger at me.
Gwen Wilson, Station Road.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what happened with the whole dispute over the captain position, but I mean, the chief
Chief.
position, yeah. Where, some of you were saying you wanted to be a part-time position and what was the resolution?
So right now, it's open as either way. Depends on how we all
Yeah.
work together between the fire company and that, because it's been some time. We have internally at the department, we voted in chief, and we've gone back to where we were as far as organizational before Clayton became full-time. So we divvied up some of the duties to the assistant chiefs, the captains, the deputy chief. So we're back to where we were 2009. It's just, we have the membership, and it's not a problem to any of us at this time. So we are trying to find as a company stability. A big change, losing our chief. So we decided that was the best thing for us to get everyone back to training, understanding what we have to do instead of focusing on other stuff. We're doing that internally. And we want to stay that way for at least another year right now, just to get us the department that stable, back to a normalcy for a little bit. Then we revisit full-time chief. That's on our side. We have that partial discussion.
Yeah.
Don't need to say anything else. Sorry.
No, you
That's just how we're approaching it at this time.
Who's chief?
Right now, it's with the fire company's Casey Stevens. He was a deputy chief like for numerous years, like training.
Again, and it was important for us to, in defining everything here, to make sure that things were open-ended and that we don't have to change an ordinance to change how the chief is compensated. I guess that's the whole point. I guess so. As far as that doesn't enter into the ordinance. That it is defined. So I mean, I'll read you the fire chief section since that's a question. So 402 fire chief appointment. Newcastle Fire Company Incorporated shall propose a municipal fire chief candidate. The fire chief shall be appointed by the town manager and confirmed by the Newcastle Select Board. The supervision as the administrative department head of the fire department, the fire chief shall be supervised by the town manager. Compensation of the fire chief shall be established and confirmed by the select board and shall be included in the annual budget. Powers and duties, the fire chief shall be the head of the fire department and shall prepare and submit to the town manager monthly reports stating calls received, runs made, training sessions held, and other pertinent. Was
That's
that?
a long list. I don't know
It
if
is
you
a
wanna
long
go through the
list.
whole-
Thank you, Ron.
So that's kind of a process. We work with the town on that. Sarah and Casey have already met, I believe, once already on that.
Yep, we've met, we've been meeting every few weeks for the last several months, yep. And so those line items you were discussing will be, the chief every year submits a budget request for the department and includes a proposal for personnel costs, for the department. So all of those questions are answered through that process.
And that's the same mechanism. That's the same mechanism that we've used all along. So the budget for the fire department has always come as a recommendation from the chief. Select board reviews it, puts it onto the voters. The voters approve it at the annual town meeting. So that's how it's always worked. That's how it's going to continue to work. Through that same
The
mechanism.
election of the chief is the same with the Patty Redwood, the bike company, election chief, that's brought to the town. That's the same thing we've always done.
Yeah.
It's just more defined at this time.
Them.
This was back in, this was back when we weren't quite all seeing eye to eye, yes. And we were trying to see where we were and to keep going the way we had been going. But between trying to do the discussions and stuff, have some time that elapsed, we weren't operating the way we needed to. So we as a department decided that we need to operate to affect the town, the best for the town. So we made a change internally to do that. Then we decided as a group to try to get a stable thing for all our members and everybody. We needed to stay that way for a while, just to make it better. Get morale back up. Morale was a little bit low at that point in time. So, on both sides. Honestly, it was a hard time for both sides of this group at that time. So we were just trying to do that internally to help ourselves. It worked.
And I think in answering Norman's question earlier, will this be better? And I think the answer is an overwhelming yes, because it clearly defines how everything operates. And I guess Clayton's passing was a hard time. It was a hard time for everybody. It was a hard time for the town. So at the time that that Clayton passed, we had a lot of changeover on the board. We had our town manager leave. Within a few months of Clayton's passing, and there were a lot of pieces that we were all trying to put together. And I think the thing that was surprising to me was that I've been on the board now for 7 years. It was 6 years. It was just been a long time. And I'd had a lot of discussions with Clayton. I'd had approved budgets, done things for years, and I didn't have myself even a clear understanding of exactly how everything was structured. And so I think the big part of this is that moving forward, it provides stability. This document provides stability for the department, for not just the firefighters, for not just their safety if something bad happens, but it defines their rights as firefighters, rights as a chief, duties as a chief. It clearly defines everything. And I think that in anything running smoothly, it's the only way to go. There has to be, the expectations that are out there have to be made clear and understood by everybody. And I think that's what this really does. And so again, to prevent anything like that happening in the future. I mean, this town's been around for a long time, even longer than Norman. The fire company's been around a long time, even longer than Norman. And we're not the first group of people to bang our heads together over changes in the town or in the fire company. I mean, fire company has evolved, the town has evolved. And I think that by doing this exercise that we've been able to do, we're helping those two evolve together again, just as they have throughout the history of this town and the company. And I think that that's the important part. And again, having full support from the town, having full support and clarity really makes that a positive difference in this scenario. So,
And as new select board members come on,
exactly.
we have something to read to understand the relationship, whereas in the past there was nothing.
What I always
So this
liken
is
it
really
to is
good.
that if I was to be sucked off this earth tomorrow, and all of us were, there should be something there. There should be enough documents. Selectmen have bylaws that we've put together, and that's been something that I've worked on over the past couple of years, really refining our bylaws to again create clear expectations on how the board operates, and so that if we all just got sucked off the planet, a new board could come in and pick up where we left off. And I think that that's each all of these things are larger than this board, the current members of the fire company. I mean, the idea is that we continue this tradition along. The fire company continues, the town support continues, that it just keeps going as the times and pressures change around us. So I think that's really what this document cements and puts together. And I hope that if other towns that have faced similar problems can go through a similar process and clearly define and learn from each other and create ordinances like this, or through charters in towns. Some towns have charters. That's how they handle defining things like we're defining through this ordinance since we don't have a charter. But I hope that other towns, take this lead, because I think it's been good, positive. Norman?
Is it possible to get a list of the members of Newcastle Fire Department? I would like that. I would, because I have the word we. I don't know who we are. I instead of credit, we, that's something. I hear the word we. So I like this talk to every member of the fire department. The idea is, if we make the best better. Yeah, if I get some comments where a couple of people aren't happy.
Do you have any comments on anything we've discussed tonight?
It
So
sounds good.
Yeah,
Somebody
Good.
wrote up a nice.
thank you.
Some person had a college degree, wrote up something pretty good. But I don't know, because we in French say yes, we, yeah, yes, we. I don't know what this means. But I would like to know as a citizen. I'm not happy with a lot of things, because I'm Newcastle, I'm very unhappy with a lot of things. But the fire department, I personally need a strong fire department.
Yep.
I hope I never need. But I just like to talk with the members, because a lot of the members
So again, Norman, the
talk with me between we started.
the purpose of this is that we're talking, there's a public hearing on this ordinance. So I appreciate your
Every member of the
sentiment.
fire department, they say we.
So just,
Thank- yeah.
So what was done with this is three of us, myself, Bobby and Jake, we sat with the town for support and we went through and helped draft all of this, put the words.
Yeah.
Peter put the
So
legal part to it. We then took this at a special fire company meeting and we went through this line by line, word by word. After we were done, we discussed what did it mean, how do we like it, what did we do? We had a vote.
Majority or.
I don't remember if it was,
Anyway, I just like to have that list.
just want you to be aware. how
We'll
it's
get you one,
I
Norman.
think
We'll get you one.
I need that.
Yeah.
That's going to come.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We'll get you one.
And if I have that, then I can talk with them. Because it's, most of all.
So
what's
Norman, I'm
not-
trying to keep
what usually is,
so
and I've been to a lot of meetings, but
I
the most important.
I
thing is-
gotta gavel you,
What's
Norman.
not said.
I didn't want to gavel you, but I gotta gavel you because we're
Well, if
kind
you
of
don't-
getting
if
off
you don't want-
topic
if
and
you
I
don't want me to come to
appreciate.
meetings, don't put it in a public notice. I won't come.
No, I'm
seriously.
letting you talk.
No, well,
We're
let me
talking on a
talk.
subject, so I'm gonna.
But I like to be able to speak.
You-
And I get answers. And one answer I
What
want is.
what is your
the-
answer from
Is the fire
us?
company, is every member of the fire company happy? with
I
the
cannot
fire?
answer if everyone is happy. Happy
I
is
think-
a,
I think should.
I'm
I
happy.
think she should if she's in charge.
Yeah.
They happy.
So
I'm
thank
happy.
you, Norman.
I'll be
Norman,
good.
I'm gonna ask you politely to, unless you have a comment specifically on the ordinance, I'm gonna have to ask you. I think you've made your point. We can watch it back on the tape if you want, but I think we've got the point. So thank you very much.
Okay, I'll leave, so I won't disturb you.
Yeah. Thank you, Norman. All
I'll give
right.
you a call, Norman, get that to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Norman.
Thanks, Norman.
All right, so I just wanted to make sure that everyone else in the audience had a chance to have, again, pass any comment along to the board. We'd like to move forward with this, get this on the town meeting warrant. Get this working. So Hearing no other comments, I'm gonna. Public hearing.
Take away from.
Thank you.
Who gave him that toy anyway?
Yeah.
The guy sitting beside you.
I actually believe Norm. I actually did call everybody.
Sarah might have this one. Sarah might have a copy. This one doesn't. This one's no.
We got him here.
This is a, yes. Oh, does anybody else?
Next to Norman. Probably last night.
Now we're just going through it. We're gonna go through as much as we can, public
Thank you very
admin,
much.
Public Works reserves, and see how far we. Here for it?
I'll get there from here.
Okay, yeah,
Could be the first time.
don't worry about it. Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
See you later, Peter.
Thanks.
Thanks. Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
What is that?
You know, it's my team, man. That's my-
Oh, was it for an ad?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure you'd be- CSA.
Well, CNN did ask my opinion on Ukraine, but, you know, I said I'm going to defer to the national politics, stick to my state politics.
And then you don't say on the, Parker Rubio, the guy Right, I was like, I just figured he's got to roll out a Geordie Mitchell scholar for this one. So I just figured he picked a random.
Well, good, I'm glad I got seen doing that. It makes me feel-
That worked, right?
I know. I don't want any of us to be here.
All right. Good night.
Everybody's too happy here. I know. I was like, it's gonna turn into a kumbaya moment. You know? And I'm just like.
Did what we needed everyone to do.
Thank you.
Just going and telling them the right thing. I'm not gonna how we can't say that. I think we made it clear that 500 was this.
I think.
Do something with the other one, it's gonna be mature.
Are we on? Are we?
Yeah.
Can you kill us for a second? We just gotta regroup.
Beep, you put up the little bar thing. Due to technical difficulty.
All right, it is 7:55, and I will call the April 25th Newcastle Select Board meeting to order. We'll start with pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. All right, moving on to amendments to the agenda. I don't think I have anything, Sarah. No. Moving on to the minutes from April 11th. Do I have a motion on those minutes? Moved by Rob. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tor. Any discussion?
Fine.
Good. All those in favor? All right, passes 5-0. Moving on to item 5, public comments on items not on the agenda. Going once, going twice. Moving on. New business. We're gonna do a budget review. So town manager has put together a budget. We're gonna start reviewing it. We're gonna see how long this goes. We have a couple representatives from the finance committee here. Just trying to think if we have Seth, our road commissioner, here to go over the roads portion of our budget. How do we want to structure this? You guys want to come up and sit and we can have some dialogue back and forth as we go through things? I think that might be helpful. And then
With Seth too.
when Seth, we're gonna go through roads first, or
I was thinking that we would start with the administration section of the budget and then move into public works and reserves
okay,
from there. And then if we have time to do more, we can do more. If not, we'll just cut it.
Okay.
Cut it there. But we can go briefly over the overall summary before we start delving into sections. if you want.
so I'm gonna turn this all the way over to Sarah Macy. This is your piece of work. So let's.
So we'll start with the total commitment, which is projected to be $5,233,574. The municipal expenses in total are coming in at approximately $2,933,306. And expenditures, which includes education and county expenditures, is projected at $6,733,801, and we are projecting 1.5 million in revenue to offset that, which is where we come up with the total. The way we break down the budget, as you all may or may not know, into subsections, and municipal subsections are administration and operations, public services, public safety, public works, reserves, and debt services. And then for expenditures, we have education and county, and then we have our separate revenue section. So today we were hoping to go over the administration / operations section of the budget, public works, and reserves, because our reserve accounts, including roads capital projects, are something that Seth has, our road commissioner, has some expertise on, because that's a large percentage of our reserves budget. So I'm not sure if we want to start with public works and let Seth.
I mean, not torture Seth. with the
Not
other parts.
torture Seth, or if we want to start with admin, because it's pretty straightforward,
I think
up to the select board.
so. I would say that just in the past, what we've kind of done is we go through and we look at. Don't necessarily have to go down through line by line and discuss every individual item. I think we just sort of go through each section. If there are any questions on specific items, I think that's a good point to bring it up and ask for clarification. and if the manager has any information that we should know about with something going up or down, in particular, just sort of an explanation as to that. And I think that's kind of worked well in the past. And again, with the finance committee, that's sort of how we've kind of gone through it. At least just, it seems to work well. Am I correct in saying that everyone likes? the
I would
two
prefer
here?
not to go line by line.
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm
just pull
saying.
out the interesting things.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. So,
So we'll
um,
go through it subsection by section then.
but I would say that if anyone has any questions on specific items or they want a clarification, let's ask for that. And if it can be done quickly, that's great. If not, I'm gonna start pounding my gavel. So
You're gonna pound it anyways.
So we'll start with admin then, because I think it's going to be pretty quick. There aren't many lines that require any extra explanation. We can start with compensation. Compensation totals have gone down 6.78% total. There are any questions on that? These are comments.
How come it's like cursing at us in the red? It's all hash.
When it's negative, it shows up in red. The hashtags, it just means the columns aren't wide enough. I'm
Oh.
sorry about that.
Okay.
So the total is, it's a 15,000 approximate decrease.
Okay.
Where you're seeing hashtags there. All right. Fringe benefits, again, it's a decrease of 11.84%. This is just both of those sections. It's due to a number of staffing changes and compensation changes. So the total for that's 117 and 24. Insurance subtotal, again, because of that, it's down 2.7%. And same contracted services has gone up. Our assessing agent fees go up incrementally every year based on a contract. So that's up 7,200. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, 7,200 up 11.15% total for that section. Are we okay to move on?
Wait, which second? That 11.25?
The contracted service.
Sorry, the way you said that, Sarah, made it sound like just the assessors
Yeah.
agent went up that amount. You meant the whole subtotal for that.
The whole subtotal went up, I'm sorry, and it's in large part due to the assessing subtotal. I should have worded that
Which
better.
only went up. 1,200.
Right,
I've got
hold on,
12.54.
sorry, my spreadsheet.
Yeah, the biggest
Yeah.
part is legal fees, the biggest increase
Correct.
there.
Why do I have 12.54
Yeah. I do too.
For the total,
for the
Mhm.
increase?
12.15.
12.54.
It says 5.4 on this one, yeah.
That's a percentage error again, which was the column issue that I had originally. I'm sorry about that.
That's
The-
okay.
The accurate, it's 11.15%.
the numbers are right.
It's-
Just the
it's-
perc- it's the,
It's just,
Percentages.
it's only the
Yeah, yeah.
percentages that
Yeah.
are wrong. I had it was automatically pulling from another year's
The FY22
Right.
number
Yeah.
rather than the
right,
FY23.
instead of the FY23. So
Yeah.
sorry about that.
so again, the increase is lower than what.
Yeah.
this
It's
says.
lower than what it says.
So That's great.
Keep it going.
Good job.
So contracted service subtotals at 64,600. And then we have operations. The only new addition to this section, I've added a line for video recordings that we've never had before. This is because we've started recording our select board meetings, town meeting with LCTV. And previously we'd been charging it to computer hardware, computer software, or other lines that didn't make as much sense. So I created a separate budget line for it. So that's why you see an addition there. Everything else, computer hardware was over by quite a bit. It was $750 was budgeted and expended year to date is 6,000. This is because of a new phone system that was approved, I think, back in the summer. And again, we didn't really have a line that it should be charged, so we charged it to this, but I'll get to contingency at the end of this section, which is a new line, again, that I've added to the administration section of the budget, and it's to start covering these costs that we don't have budgeted for, that are one-time expenses, such as adding a new phone system, or when I always pick on you, David, because it's the one that comes to mind, but when David had requested that we expend funds in advance of receiving a grant for broadband committee, we didn't really have a line that it fit to charge it to, so we charged it to planning services. A contingency line basically takes care of that, and I set it at 15,000 to start for this year, because that kept our administrative section pretty much flat, with all of the other decreases in the section, so that there was no substantial increase in the section. The total for admin costs are reduced by about $661. So
Can you speak to the computer software? And because last year we added the collaboration software that ended up not working. So what, but we presumably aren't paying for that anymore. So what are we?
we aren't paying for that anymore. That is where a lot of our video recording invoices have ended up being charged, is to computer software. Additionally, in computer software, we upgraded to Trio Web. It also includes all of our web support purchases. Our Google, Zoom, and Adobe accounts are charged to computer software. So that's typically a pretty fixed expenditure line.
Right, but it's going up a bunch.
But it's,
Like a
yeah,
third.
it's computer, for computer
software.
right? Because Trio Web.
It's the Trio. Okay.
But the video recordings is still carried out in a line item, so you broke that out.
I did break that out. Right.
Just not a dollar comment, but it's just about the sequencing. I think you got added video recordings, 35, 36, and 37 mixed up.
Oh,
So, yeah, in the footnotes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a note to fix that.
Can I just interject something with
yeah.
the video recording?
Sure.
I've heard from several folks, including one tonight, about how they actually missed being able to view planning board meetings on YouTube if they've been watching, and they missed that they're not being broadcast. So I didn't know if the agreement with LCTV was for Board of Selectmen meetings only, and that was to be revisited. But I just wanted you to be aware that I've had requests for the planning board meetings.
How many planning board meetings do you have a year?
Well, unless we have a workshop, but we've had one workshop in a year.
So we got that. 12.
Yeah, and I would say if you consider doing it, just do the regularly scheduled meetings, not the workshops or pickup meetings. Public hearings would be broadcast anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, no, I think it's good for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Computer support.
So are
oh,
we,
sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, were we suggesting that maybe we add another 1,200 to that line item
Is that
to
what-
cover,
You
to cover
think?
that? I think,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
nobody,
let's raise the budget. Ben,
it's all Ben's fault.
thanks, Ben.
I'm not done. I'm just getting started.
Yeah, yeah,
That was a
started.
warm up.
Yeah, I know.
That was a softball.
1,200.
Can we
Done.
take that out of the undesignated fund balance? No. I'm gonna ask that on the next one. too.
Okay, sounds good.
So additionally, our computer support line is over by quite a bit from what was budgeted. This is because our previous town manager used to be our IT support, and before he left, he signed a contract with EES Consulting that has now been helping us with IT. We get regular invoices from them. This is going to be something that's going to continue moving forward. They're really well acquainted with Trio, and have been
They've been,
a big
they've been fixing everything our last IT guy didn't do.
They've
right?
been- they've been-
Is that what you're saying?
No comment.
Free.
No, John did But that's the big, that's one of the lines that's over expended in admin.
And I would assume they are doing the website as well?
No, that's a separate company that we work with for the website. Separate expenditure. So anytime we need work done on the website that we can't do ourselves, we get an invoice for that. But it is
Okay.
included in, it's not included in computer support. It's included usually in software. I
We've got a
believe
website.
invoices from that.
You've got a website line item too.
Yes.
So,
No, you're right. Yep, it goes to website.
so it's just based on how often you need them?
Right.
Okay. I didn't know if our former computer tech expert had done that too.
I have not actually had to personally, that would be a good question for our clerk. They've worked with the company that we work with the website more often than I have. I know how to post updates, but
It's just, it's gone from practically no expense to really big and then to,
Yeah.
it's gone up and down. Yeah.
are there any other questions on any line items in operations?
Nope.
Okay.
I just have one, because I didn't see it in the notes, but I just wanted to make sure that we're going to continue with it. And I'm assuming it's in line 28 computer software. The Axios online assessors. That's in there, and we're going to continue with that.
Yep.
There's been an invaluable tool for the planning board.
Are you referring to the tax maps?
Mhm.
Okay,
No.
that's a separate.
No.
No.
Not the tax map. Tax maps we have to print and put in the book that's in the town office every year, talking about the online, it's the middle maps and property information
Oh,
button.
yes.
It takes you to a separate website called Axios.
Yeah.
And you can get all kinds of information from that website.
But doesn't that
Yeah.
have the tax
It
card
shows the tax
information
maps, so
and
once
the
a year.
overlays?
Yeah, it's once or twice a year, and I don't know, but last time I asked Jim, it was only once a year, but with things shifting the way it is, he may have done it. He uploads a big dump from Trio of data to that website, and they parse it all out, plug it in for us, so that anyone can get the
Yeah.
information that they want. It's used. a
It
lot,
really
so I want to make sure we
helps.
keep doing
Oh,
it.
yeah,
It helps
Yeah.
identify the zones. Really.
Everything.
It's like,
Yeah.
Yep,
In,
we're definitely.
in the footnotes, it says tax maps, CAI online tax mapping,
A CIA, Axios.
$2,400
Okay, great.
is in the footnotes.
Good. Thank you.
All right, and then lease subtotal is just our copier and printer lease. That's not changing. From there, town office, building subtotal, again, not changing. We have seen a reduction in heating fuel lately since we've added heat pumps. However, electricity costs are going up, so I kept estimates the same and we'll see how it plays out. We have been having fixed electric rates. We're on the second year of that with main power options, Constellation.
That's just the kilowatt hour charge.
Right.
I mean, the usage will probably go up.
Yeah.
So you might want to up that 2,100 just as a guess.
I guess I would want to see first how it plays out. When we install more, see how we need to adjust it before adjusting it
Okay.
in anticipation, because I'm not sure. And it might change. I'm not sure when that work is going to be done yet at this point either. So,
Maybe that leads to contingency.
and then,
Well, I think contingency is for things that don't have a line item.
right,
So if it's a line item you're overspending,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
shows up in that line.
right, we would still budget that same
Yeah.
way. Even if, let's say we have a line that goes over that we have as a line item, we wouldn't charge it to contingency. We would still charge it to that line so
Yeah.
that we can budget accordingly. Contingency is basically just a net that will catch all of the unbudgeted expenses, often one-time expenses
Yeah.
that we couldn't have predicted, but don't fall into another budget line. Our auditors will be really happy with us. if we Start doing that.
Is it too low?
What?
The contingencies.
Yeah. I mean, just based on, and I haven't added numbers up, but a cursory quick glance at the numbers here, I would say that based on what has been spent like year to date, even within the budget cycle we're in, that had to be charged out to a different account, just the stories that I know of, we're well over that 15,000 in this budget, and we haven't even finished it yet.
Yeah, it's hard to it's hard to calculate what that could be, what that number should be. I based the 15,000 number on what the total for admin was and just tried to keep the total admin budget flat. If you think that contingency should be higher than that, then
Well, if you budget 15 and you go over, we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
So I would say, even if it's, I mean, just for the sake of argument, for this first blush, play around with the idea of putting it up high enough so that it actually captures everything. So you can get a true budgetary snapshot next year. Because if it's too low, we're gonna have the same conversation. Well, we spent all the contingency. how
well,
much
we
more
would
raise it?
still charge it to contingency, even if it was a one-time expense and it went over contingency. We would still charge it to contingency, and then we would see historical spending data and be able to calculate an
It'd be a
average
negative.
for what it should be.
So it seems like half of it's for budgeting and auditing clarity. That you've got a line item with those things. Even if it was zero, it has value having that line item. Right?
Yeah.
So
I think,
6 to 1, half dozen to
Yeah.
another.
I think the
whether
thing
you
I'd be
do
worried
15 or
about
more.
is I wouldn't want to add too much to our fund balance. I feel like we need to have a
We keep-
discussion
yeah,
about
exactly.
fund balance and the level that we have. And so if we put too much in there,
it's
We
just
don't
gonna
wanna-
make our problem.
it's just gonna roll into the fund balance and then we'll have to
Well,
discuss
then
it.
we'll just have more fun, right?
Yeah.
No, my only point is like, if there's a couple things that are like larger ticket items.
But to be true to what we may encounter. is what I'm trying to say.
And we don't know. I mean, it's a very uncertain sort of time.
I
Go
would,
out for an oil bid next year and budget this amount, and it could be double or triple. God
Right,
knows.
but again, our
That's when the
contingency
oil-
won't go in contingency.
Yeah, but then we won't have to have an emergency meeting, come in authorized to pull it out of general fund, and I'm just saying, no offense to like, but prices could change. He might give us a number and then it, $15,000 on the road project is a drop in the bucket.
Right, but this
That'd
is,
be-
in this section of the. I don't-
Just an
You know, that
administration.
won't, I mean, I guess it helps us obviously in our overall budget. If we had a pot that we don't use.
Well, that's a good question. Is that contingency for any item that we? So
It's
anywhere,
not any line item that
Under
we
administration.
overexpend. It's
So-
for like our phone systems that didn't fit under computer hardware, computer software, or
I got, no,
yeah,
but I'm just saying is.
But-
Is
but
it,
on the-
is
but-
it in public services? Would you put that back into that contingency fund, or is that specific to?
for public services.
Just, well, that contingency fund is strictly for.
The
items
coding of it is
1 through
definitely
53.
Yeah.
Right.
Or 1
You
through
mean
50.
where could you use it?
Yeah, where can you
just
use it?
within this.
It would be for an admin and operation expense that didn't fit into the other category.
No,
No,
because you can
No.
move.
the whole budget.
we can
The
move-
whole budget.
It's the whole budget.
Well,
Yeah, okay,
2%.
all right.
2%.
Well,
2%.
by that warrant article, we can move up to 2% from any
2%.
one item to another if we vote it. But this could be used, it doesn't need to stay within admin and operations. The contingency fund she's proposing here could be used anywhere. It doesn't have to
That's my
stay.
question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it
So
could be used anywhere.
anyway.
So like, for example, that very expensive signpost with the blinking light and
Yes.
that someone ran over with their boat. Well, you didn't budget for that.
Correct.
Oh, and my head's going great because in my budget, I'm gonna go, Sarah, you want me to go? Great, this is gonna go to 101.99.
Uh,
But that signpost, I mean, no offense, but like that signpost basically ate up that 15
Exactly,
like that.
yeah. I mean,
That's my point. It's like, I love the idea. I just don't think we should skimp on it as a like, oh, let's just try it out and see. There's no actual harm now
To have it there.
to have it there.
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes you just need a little cash to be able to do something. Signposts are a great example. We had to upfront the cost. We got reimbursed by insurance later on, but we needed the fluency of the cash just to make things work. So it's not a bad option to have a little bit. Emergency appropriations and storms and stuff, you could see that being very, I mean, you've got other line items.
Yeah.
And that would be a
But
different.
you never know when you need to make a real quick one-off.
What other towns do for contingency accounts are all across the board. I've heard towns in the surrounding area in Lincoln County budget 15 to 20,000 a year in their contingency account. When I was in Waterville, it was 7% of the municipal budget in contingency account. So it varies.
Is this is something, because it's an account, not a reserve, it just goes into the general fund if it's unexpected. So
7% would be like, $240,000.
Seems extravagant.
A little bit. I
Those are
guess, let me
figures.
put a number out.
Figures.
Okay, yeah.
How's that?
Okay.
50 as a starting point. We don't use it, we don't use it. And maybe we circle back to this conversation as we get through other things, but I guess I would just say, it's an awesome idea. Don't underfund it.
Do you want me to make a note to come back to contingency after we've gone through more lines, or
Sure.
are there
Yeah,
questions?
let's-
or-
let's-
Okay.
Just a-
Yeah. I just don't want to add to our fund balance. at the end of the year.
that's the thing. I just,
I agree with that. I don't want to pad the budget.
Yeah.
Not
You know-
that contingency is padding. It's
you know
different,
what? I
but
think
it's,
I think in this case, I'm actually going to agree with Ben and say that in my time on the board, there's always been something we've had to shuffle, and it's hard because I think this would be more representative.
Well, for example, when we were hiring the new town manager, we were like, "Okay, where are we gonna find,
Right.
find extra money?"
Right.
And we were asking Seth to tighten up on his budget.
Right.
So to round out the category, you have nothing for abatements. You believe the assessor's agent will be right on it and not need to do
Historically,
anything?
we haven't budgeted for abatements since 2021.
I see that.
Before that, it really depends whether we've received abatements or not. I've heard previously, yeah, I think our assessor's agent is right on it. We just had a reval. We're scheduled to have another reval tentatively in 2024, not full, just an update.
So if there were abatements, they would come out of this line. They wouldn't have just been netted out of the revenue side of it.
Right.
So
We'd
we would
still
actually
charge
see
it.
Yeah.
Abatements.
If we had an abatement, we'd still charge it out of this line and we would just go over on the line and budget accordingly for future years. But because we don't have very much spending data over the last 5 years and it's all across the board, it's hard to predict and budget for what should be in that line. So
Is that 13, the Lincoln Academy thing?
13.
Yeah, 20.
Yes.
FY 20 was
Yes. That was,
blown out of water there. Yeah.
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 Oh,
yeah, that $13,011.
It's 21.
Yeah.
So it's an anomaly.
So that was kind of an anomaly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so these are assessing abatements you guys have had historically. It's
Yeah.
not poverty abatements. Right.
Nope.
No, I was
Okay.
looking at his assessment.
And can I just throw a little history on this?
Yeah.
As a line item, it doesn't even need to exist truthfully, because we have a warrant article that allows, if authorized, the selectmen to fund abatements through overlay, which is a much more common practical use of overlay anyway. We're gonna have some no matter what. Might as well use it for that. And I think at one point the auditor was like, why are you budgeting abatements that shouldn't show up
Right.
on the budget side, period? Like, it doesn't need to be there. We did it
So
because we
explain-
had bad budgeting for years.
Explain the
wanted less
overlay
information.
concept.
Oh,
What overlay?
Come on, there's a
I
couple
always
new
get
ones
that.
here too. so.
I always get that. So overlay is just the product of the result, the remainder of the equation used to determine the mill rate. So
Yeah.
the mill rate, when you look at it, could be like 9 digits after, like 13 point. But we don't ever do that. We truncate it. Okay, so then we take the amount you need to raise, figure out the thing. There's always an amount left over. By law, you're allowed to be above or below, I think, no more than 5% of the total budget, total commitment that you can overlay onto that budget. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
By law. And in years past, we've had very, very little overlay, and sometimes we've had large overlays, and it just there's always some. It's never zero. Because the remainder is always some.
And abatements always come from the over.
We have a warrant article that we vote on every year
Uh-huh.
that authorizes the spending of overlay to fund abatements.
But it's possible that that could be a scenario where your abatements are more than your.
In which case the auditor will reconcile. Don't budget it.
So maybe we remove the line then.
Well, what this is, it's not really budgeted. It's just a line item. So it is what it is, but we have a record of it at least, which is a good thing.
Oh, we left it in there for historical purposes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
For
But
historical
you'll
purposes,
continue to
so-
talk about it, that's all.
Let's wait a few years where if we haven't funded it for 5 years, and which is kind of the spending data we use is 5-year analysis, then we'll talk about removing the line. The only other change is our cemetery mowing contract went up under cemetery maintenance. Otherwise, everything else is flat. Are there any questions on any other categories in admin or?
So Harriet Bird Clubhouse maintenance and repairs, is that now including our mowing for, where is that coming from?
Our mowing contract,
Okay. Oh, okay, that's just mowing.
yeah. Our cemetery mowing contract. They also go to Harriet Bird and Town Hall. That's our full mowing contract, but we have it under cemeteries because it's the biggest swath of
Okay.
the town.
Yeah, so as part of that, it's that. And then the heating fuel,
Mhm.
I don't know, should we raise that just in projection of costs still being high?
For Harriet Bird or for,
Well, I'm
town
hoping that we can have some discussions about town office and maybe bring that number to zero next year. but
You mean maintenance and repairs or?
No.
Heating fuel.
Oh, heating.
Heating oil.
Well,
I think we
that's
can-
what I'm saying. You have to pay for the BTU somewhere, so it's either oil, electric.
Right. And so we should. That's why I'm saying we don't need to necessarily move it this year
Right.
in that thing, but as far as Harriet Bird, we're looking at. We don't know how much.
so we didn't actually heat Harriet Bird Clubhouse this winter at all.
We drained it. We've drained it for the past couple of years. I wonder if we should just, well,
You've
they
drained it?
use, yeah, because we
water.
pay for
Oh, I see.
draining. But I guess there still is some usage, so maybe we just leave that alone. All right,
Are there any other
Well,
questions before?
Just on the question on the maintenance and repairs, so.
Sure.
um,
For town hall?
Yeah, we're at all of them actually, where we have maintenance and repairs. Like at the town office.
Line 43.
Line 43 and then line 48. Oh, so that's, I'm sorry, that's set to Harriet Bird. So, in reserves, do we have a facilities reserve?
We
account?
do. So we have regular town office maintenance and repair, which is 5,000 Harriet Birds at 2. But then we also have a town building reserve,
Municipal building reserve, line 6.
Yep. which is in the reserve section.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering why do we need to break out all those? Because like, if we needed $8,000 for something at the town office, but we're not going to use 2,000 at Harriet Bird, could we just take it out of a larger sort of pool?
So we have those 2 lines for regular scheduled maintenance and repairs to my understanding, and then the reserve line is there for bigger things that maybe we haven't budgeted for that are one-offs, like this last year with I just got a quote for fire alarms in this building for Seacoast Security. That would not really fit under a town office maintenance line or a fire station maintenance line because it's not a regular expense. It's a one-time installation. So that fits better under reserve. It also allows us, having a reserve account like that, to save for bigger things that come up, but that maintenance line is really for the everyday.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just saying we don't really have, it's putting out fires. But so, the door handle breaks or something leaks, that's. what
Yeah.
you're
Or
drawing
if we're
from.
planning a bigger project I think in,
Well, no,
if
in the
we were-
maintenance.
yeah, but in
that's-
maintenance, if we were gonna paint, the building.
Yeah.
We should do, but,
It needs it.
and then.
No, it does. Yeah, I mean, I'm just.
And so I think that's where that kind of
I'm
goes.
just wondering if, because those things are kind of fluid. I mean, we don't have sort of a maintenance, maintenance repair schedule or something that's, that's projected. So we're kind of just dealing with it as we need. It's like when we did the stuff in this building. Comes up and within 2 months, we're making repairs to the building. But if it was a little bit more fluid and the aggregate figure, we wouldn't be restricted and say, oh, we don't have 5,000, we grab that extra 2,000.
I am working on coming up with a regular maintenance schedule.
Well, that'd be great.
I'm not there yet.
That would be a good compliment.
So-
There's a few things that are gonna be added to that, like servicing the equipment here, that's done on an annual basis. And the contractor is gonna set up a schedule for that. And heat pumps at town office haven't ever been serviced since we put them in. We're really good at putting things in and not servicing. So I think that's something that we need to, again, develop. So again, do you think that's enough for what we've got in there for?
I think so, based on history as it stands, and we'll have a better idea for what we need moving forward when we
Do-
have a full plan.
How do you feel about certain things that we plan for in the future? So if we had had more time to get ready for everything, maybe we would have said, all right, let's get a couple folks for doing the painting of the town office or whatever. Would that be in that same line, or would that be in the other?
I guess it would
Is there-
depend on cost. I would imagine painting would be large enough. It would be something we'd want to take out of town building reserve.
You're gonna paint the vinyl
If it were like,
It's already planned.
for
on
example,
the town office?
Giant gaps.
Oh, the tennis stuff.
we
yeah,
just
yeah,
got the Tana,
Three
the
different
door,
types.
we just got the
Good.
sliding door to the Tana Scott building repaired in town office, and that's a small enough maintenance expense that would be something I would charge to town office maintenance and repairs. For example,
Was he able to do something with the latch?
how you break it down, already did.
Oh, I'm gonna go look at that.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
Anyway, I think that's my answer. to the question. As long as we got, if there's some kind of plan.
We need a
for
plan.
Maintenance
Yeah.
plan, I think that
Yeah.
complements having a budget.
We need a plan for all buildings. I've been working with Casey on that for this building. We've been talking about it quite a bit. We're trying to come up with something townwide, but we need to take an inventory of all of our systems, what needs regular maintenance, and try and work.
Oh, yeah,
with
we're gonna
contractors
do that
to
this winter. We're gonna go around and do it. It never happened.
Remember that conversation?
Yeah.
Was I there?
Yeah, I think.
It's a
we-
You were
blur.
gonna do it.
That's why I've been waiting on your phone calls. man. Sitting on my phone,
You've
just
been
waiting for
waiting
the
on-
text to come in. Didn't want to bring it up until just now, but.
Anyway, Seth, are you ready for?
No, I have an easy, or
Oh, okay.
what could be a different question. On cemetery maintenance.
Yep.
What, you haven't been around for it, Sarah, but what kind of stuff generally has fallen under that before? Because I have a couple ideas.
Repairs of fences, though,
Okay.
we've actually had, well, no, now that I say that, I asked our mowing contractor if that was something that they'd helped us with in the past, and they said, yes, it's included in our mowing contract, small repairs like that. So I don't know historically what has been included in cemetery maintenance. I would need to ask.
Sometimes
No.
it has, yep, sometimes it's been cutting down trees or limbing things that have been hanging up and causing issues. Stone.
Okay.
Some stone repairs, access issues regarding trees,
Okay.
specialty. A lot of times you run into complications in regards to some of the monuments, so it gets kind of expensive removing because they have to climb them and limb them individually. It's like you can't just drop a tree
Right.
because of the damage that it creates. So
Okay.
Lots of that different types. Had a couple of erosion issues and one of them on the backside of the one out on the Kings Highway that they had to work on with the road and stuff like that. So
Okay.
it's been stuff like that that has come up over the
Okay.
past.
The fence and lid, and then we had to rebuild the berm there when
Yes.
Okay.
And we've always kept it separate. Ben can jump in a little bit more. I mean, John usually, not to constantly compare, but John always managed that side of the budget per se. Didn't really come under public works because it had to do with something how the funds were generated by the
cemetery.
right. Yes, it was. It's a little
Okay.
funny how that worked, and I don't know all the details and exactly how the funding comes out of that. The
Okay.
fees they charge and the
Yeah,
all
I was
that.
just curious about some stones. I've been helping with the little cemetery over here on Pleasant Street. And it's on private property, so the town doesn't do anything with it. But there's some stones that we're going to have repaired and righted and
Yes.
such. And I'm sure that we've got some very old stones in some of our cemeteries. I just wouldn't want to see them just flopping over and getting buried. So I didn't know if something like that could be done if needed.
I
if
know
we
Tom
need to.
Stevens was involved quite a bit in that and did some.
Every 8 to 10 years,
repairs.
Tom usually comes and does a little
Yeah.
inventory and presents us with a budget to fix stones that have been cracked or fallen. So, I don't know what happened to the last one. I want to say he presented it right before COVID hit.
Mhm.
And it might have gotten lost. I
Mhm.
don't know what happened.
I think the last request we had to come out of this line was for poison ivy. They had asked to have an area sprayed because it was taking over an area. And so, things like that.
We also used to have a more complicated cemetery
Mhm.
situation.
There used to be a committee.
There was a committee. Now we have a,
Nothing.
supposed to have a. Yes.
And there are separate cemetery funds as well. That there are,
Yes.
well, there's perpetual funds, but there's also some of it that is designated for maintenance.
Oh, yeah,
And,
too.
yeah, and finance committee used to have something to do with that. Haven't had really sort of been me until Ben came aboard for a while now. So I haven't met with myself to do anything in about 3 years. So I don't know where all of that is at the moment. And it bugs me because we should know.
Those funds would get off budget. It would be something totally separate.
It's totally separate.
Their investment accounts with RBC.
And I don't know what they're doing. at this point. Bugs me.
We need a tabulation of our investments. Are there any other questions in admin before we move on to public works, or are we good?
Good.
All right. Seth, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Well, the last time I came and talked before you guys, I get to come in. I can't remember under what controversial issues. And now I get to come when she presents her budget at -$600 and the whole with a contingency line, and she didn't send me the memo to add a contingency line into mine. So that's not fair.
Sorry about it.
That's all right. Just a real brief overview. Obviously we can go any direction that you guys would like to go, but overall, public work stuff is fairly consistent with just increases in services is really the only thing. I haven't changed any line items per se, so the scope of the budget hasn't really changed much. Numbers have changed for sure, but the overall direction is still very consistent with where we've been.
I'm sorry, Seth, are you looking at the actual blue one or your project one?
No, I'm looking at the operations budget, the
Okay.
actual
Yep.
public works maintenance budget.
Okay, good. And what should the percentage be at the bottom of that one?
So that one should be 12.17.
It is.
Yeah.
The only thing that didn't come over, and I will take responsibility if I didn't send it, but the notes for this year's budget on the bottom didn't come through. So you're still seeing the budget notes for last year's budget. Yeah. So don't be confused because you're gonna see details on there outlining like drainage on Westfield County and stuff like that. That all happened last year. So I do have new budget notes here that I'll be more than happy to share with you. They're all very consistent in nature with what has been put down in the past, but
Seth, if you send them to me, I'll add it to this spreadsheet and send everyone an updated sheet based on all the changes we make this time.
Absolutely. But the numbers themselves in the actual budget is correct. That those are all legit. So basically, the operation subtotal is 5,000. There's really isn't any change there. This year, the money that I'm using, the technical assistance money that I have put forth from last year's budget, actually, and this year, I'm hopeful to combine them and use them right at when one budget ends, the other one starts. I'm trying to come up with a plan for the replacement on South Dire Neck Road on the bridge. We don't really have a maintenance plan at all associated with that, and that bridge we do own. And as you know, it's really one way in, one way out, unless we develop the other side. So we've started to see some separation on the head wall, on the I'll call it on the inward side that's starting to lean a little bit. So I've reached out to a couple of engineering firms to get some ideas on developing a maintenance plan, with hopes to be able to come to you guys in the future with another capital reserve so that we can start sticking a little bit of money away for that bridge. Because if that bridge goes, it's a major expenditure that we'd have to. And as you know, when the state turned it over to us, they redid it all when they did the Sheepskip Road Bridge because of was part of the detour issue. And anyways, they redid the bridge. So we received a decent product. We just need to keep it that way in hopes to try to avoid a major expenditure.
Except that's the little one right there in the village by the Grange Hall.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yes, exactly. So that operation subtotal basically has stayed the same request this year, and that's what the funds are going to. In addition, while they're here, I'm looking to have the engineer company look at the Pleasant Street. This retaining wall here is failing that holds the side of the bank right here, and I need to get a little bit of guidance on if we can fill it. What the Army Corps permit would be, not to fill the whole gully, but I'd like to eliminate that concrete and then just put a slope and vegetate it.
You're talking, I'm sorry.
This-
You're talking about Liberty Street.
It's actually
It's Liberty, yes,
Yeah.
technically the
Right
little,
by the Newcastle.
yes.
Okay, all right.
yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's.
It is.
That we have some very small drains there. We fight with it every winter, but I need to have a little bit of engineering help on that retaining wall aspect. And I have a feeling it's going to involve some Army Corps permitting with that wetland area, especially close to the river as it is. So that's the plan for those funds for this year. So the operation subtotal really didn't change that much. Facilities, you'll see I raised the electricity at the sand salt shed just by $100, purely as a guess, in speculation because of the increase of power. Maintenance salt shed, held fast with that. We've been doing some improvements over there over the last few years. I had some lights, redid the entrance, moved a little building up there. I'm just picking away at some little stuff as we go, basically is what that is. So that line item was consistent with years past. Facility subtotals, the biggest change there is we have contractual obligations for snow plowing, both downtown and roads. Those had their contractual increases. The permits were required to do for DEP. Salt is our biggest probably line item. We're seeing substantial increases in just the cost of the raw product. So I'm doing my best to guess at where that's going to be for next year. I didn't increase the amount per se. It's just the cost and the material.
Seth, would you back up to line 7, the public landing?
Yes.
You put nothing there. It was $1,000 in the past. It's not in need of anything, or what's the rationale?
To be completely honest with you, the $1,000 was put there as I'll put it this way, as a way to have a little bit of funds in the event that we needed to have a discharge place for snow from Main Street. There was conversations going on,
Push it down.
or pick it up, and move it and get rid of it. But we don't have, as you may or may not know, we share our discharge point with Damariscotta. At that time, there was a little bit of hesitation whether that was going to continue or not. And so we needed to have a contingency plan to have a way to get rid of that. It's far less money than trucking it all the way to North Newcastle to get rid of Main Street, and it would still qualify as a proper discharge point. So we put a little bit of money because, as you know, it's kind of overgrown a little bit. So we threw a little bit of money there to see what we could do to open it up in the event that we needed it. And that's what that was there for.
But it's you don't do the regular maintenance, the mowing and all that. stuff.
Nope.
Okay, yeah.
I'm fairly confident in our position going forward to still maintain that discharge permit across the bridge. So I didn't budget anything for it this year.
Well, you would have to budget the tolls that are charged. Go through there, wake me up in the morning.
I'm sorry.
There we
yes,
go.
that
But
is
thank
true.
you for not funding that. Going forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do my best.
Great.
Let's see, annual operations. Basically, you'll see a large line item increase in crackdown. I'm just picking out a couple of highlights here. As we move through our roads program and we try to get our roads to a better standard, you'll see that line item increase more and more over the years in an effort to have less overall construction. This is the maintenance aspect of my budget, like what Tor and Joel was saying. It's just keeping up, trying to keep our surfaces solid, keeping the water out of them. So as we move through and we fix our roads, I add them into this particular line item. So Stonebridge, for example, there shouldn't be a lot, but I'm sure there'll start to be some small cracking going on. So, and then all the ones we've done in the past are still there and they grow and they grow. So that line item is going to move a little bit, and it did this year. Not to mention it's petroleum-based product, so cost of materials is definitely moving a little bit.
On the grading, is it just, it hasn't been done yet? That there wasn't much expenditure this year, the grading and the gravel?
Yes, okay, so great question. Grading is done in the spring. So I do a basic, I call them a brushing. We just try to level it out, get the profile back a little bit for winter in cold weather. That happens in the fall, but in the spring, we go through and add the gravel and do the main road grading. So that's happening right now, or we're just finishing, to be honest with you.
Okay, so that will look a lot different.
Yes.
When we view it in a month.
Yes, exactly, right, yep. And I did increase the gravel every year. We put new gravel on the dirt road sections and we try to keep ahead, but it's a wear item. This is, I mean, every year we plow the dirt off in the ditch and every year we got to put something back.
Stop plowing the dirt off.
Well, I try.
Lift that blade ever so much.
Yes.
It's snow, it's under roads, it says snow removal, it says nothing but gravel.
Yes, yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes. So that grading line item is for both fall and spring. Great question. Roadside mowing is just our annual mowing on the side. The rest of it's just maintenance items. The increases are coming from the subs that we've used for years here in town. Striping paint is seen as considerable increase. Anything that's petroleum based has any resin in it whatsoever is just labor's more and materials more. Really, that's really what it comes to.
Yeah.
We're not adding anything. I'm not changing anything. We're not doing any elaborate striping anywhere else. Everything is maintained just the way it's been in the past. It's just the cost of doing it.
Street sweeping starting.
Our,
happening.
our street sweeping is done town wise. The state portion is not.
The state does the state road.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. A lot of not confusion, but this year I got on him. I took a chance and said, hey, look, let's get out and get it done early. Because I was just kind of feeling the vibe. Hopefully no more snow. And he fit us in. Usually we have to wait. They get the contract. The street sweeper that's here now is actually working with the DOT in the local region doing the state stuff. So what happens in the past is usually we had to wait and kind of get fit in with him when he's in the area. So I jumped on him early, got it done, and he prepped all the sidewalks and pushed everything out. That's why you see all the dirt and stuff. And then he had to wait for the state to say, okay, let's go and do with their stuff. And now they'll come through. The sidewalks, our responsibility. The road is the state's for state roads. So that's why you see that discrepancy and be like, oh, yeah, you only half finished. Well, it's because our responsibility was met and completed, and we just had to wait for the other shoe to drop, which is happening now.
Do you want all the dirt that's on in front of my house before the state gets it?
No.
I can bring it to you.
I know.
Dead sand.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of it. Okay, good.
We a line item, for labor, equipment, and culverts material. These bleed into some capital items. For example, our culverts, just as in years past, are tied in with the capital projects part of the budget. That's what funds our cross pipes that we put in for the roads that we do. That's where we pay for some of the materials. There was a substantial increase in the cost of pipe rather, this year. So that's largely the increase in that amount. Station Road is in year 2 of our plan for road replacement. And so all of those cross pipes are in that budget line item to be replaced. as well as I've got a couple of other just nuisance ones that I need to get fixed. One up on North Newcastle Road where we had an ice issue this year. It's gone. It's not a road culvert. We've got all those replaced. It's a driveway culvert that is let go. And then I budgeted for one spare one. Just throughout the course of the season, we always have somebody that calls and says, "Hey, I've got an issue. I need to have this replaced." So I've got that one on North Newcastle, All Station Road, and a spare. Yeah, everything else is we've done the equipment subtotal over the course of the last couple of years. We've been purchasing some safety equipment and trying to get ourselves in a position where we can manage events and or provide a resource to emergency services if needed. So now we do have some cones and barrels. We're getting some barricades and just stuff like that that in the past we never had access to. We begged, borrowed, and stealed. So that's really what that whole line item is about. It's also that covers my street signs, sign replacements when something happens with accidents, road postings, events such as Pumpkin Fest when we have to go out and do temporary street postings, you know, things to that nature. That subsection really speaks to that type of operation.
Seth, so you know, I applied recently for a safety grant through MMA for the fire department to purchase road closure signs if they have emergencies. So if I'll let you know if we get that award, because we might have some extra to share.
But more than happy to answer any questions. Again, the notes that you'll receive from Sarah in the next day or so, or go through this, you know, very detailed as far as you know, the culverts and the breakdown and the solids and the tons. It's very, very similar to this. What you see here, a lot of the same explanations with the math and stuff like that. It's just updated for this year. It's just updated with what we're plan is for this year. The other aspect of technical assistance, in full disclosure, I have been asked and I'm on the board for LCTV. But one of the things that we've been criticized pretty hard in the past on the public works side of things is one, lack of education and getting words out and things like that. So one of the things I am thinking about is trying to partner with them a little bit and doing a little information so that we can broadcast that on the TV station. So like, for example, when we go out to do Station Road, Larry and I have talked about getting out, doing some filming and actually, you know, putting some, not documentary, but just a little bit of information blurb together so that they can see what we're seeing for road base and why we got to do and how we got to do it, and what the taxpayers' dollars are. If there's any money left over in that technical line, what I'd like to do is help them. I mean, they operate on a shoestring budget, as you can imagine, but it does cost money for them to do that and their staff to work. So I'd like for them to be able to put something together for the town to use as a public information piece that we could then share on the website. DOT is doing a lot of this, having some pretty good feedback from public input where they can kind of see, you know, it's always great to see trucks and guys standing on the side leaning on shovels and everybody jokes and haha, it's expensive and blah, blah, blah in the budget. But if we can get people to understand what our true motivation is and why we're spending it and what we're trying to correct as a process, I think it's an important tool of public information. And so that's just one area that I thought, oh, I could get two bangs for the buck. One, we could broadcast it on the TV station, and two, I could use it for future and re-air it every so often on the website. Been trying to get a little bit better about trying to post some stuff on the website and get some links and stuff out there for people to follow. And this is another, let's say PR, but informational piece that we could hold on to and then use. So that's one other area of that technical aspect that
I think that's a great idea.
DOT and Cameron with Miranda Reed,
yes,
the street
Miranda
bridge.
Street,
And,
yeah.
you know, even people way up here know. And so, I mean, it's people listening.
Did you watch any of the live stream? It was pretty neat.
I know.
It was, well, I know it's kind of boring,
I was
to some,
curious
but
to
I was
see-
like, oh,
Did
that's
it
pretty
slide
cool.
into place?
I mean, the bridge like literally moved like 1 foot every 10 minutes. I'm like, oh wow, look at move. That's great.
But it fit, I hope.
Oh yeah, no, it's all open.
I want to see
Super.
the timelines. 'cause
Yeah,
that's
wouldn't it be
really-
great?
Really
Kinda neat. It is cool.
Yeah.
It's great technology. It's kind of interesting. Off
But the
subject.
communication's great, so that's a great vehicle.
I think it's a great idea.
They already posted the time lapse. I got a notification right before this meeting.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. I would just say on his video, we should think that definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yes, here for any questions, if there's any, obviously, there is an increase there. I am not as good as Sarah, as much as I would love to be flat footed and be exactly the same. It's just, some of these items are out of my control as far as where the budget comes in. More than willing to entertain any criticism, ideas, or notions.
I mean, the maintenance side of things, that even if we were to cut back on new capital spending, it'd be stupid to cut back on maintenance. It's protecting the investment we've already made. So it's not on you to keep that. We don't want it. That's what it has to be. It's not, we're trying to keep it flat. We have to do.
Yeah, you'll see some of the line items like the labor, equipment, culverts. Every year I've been trying to keep that line item to give you guys some history, right? I'm gone in however many years or months or however long you guys decide to keep me, but at the very minimum, I want you guys,
Where are you going?
I want you guys to have some
Great
history.
negotiation skills, by the way.
So that you can look back and you know where your money is being spent and why it's being spent there. And in our budget, or this budget, as far as I'm concerned, my contingency, similar to what Sarah does, is that labor, equipment, and material line item. When something comes up that I don't have budget, removing the pad at town office, or any other request that something happens and out of the blue, I stick it in those line items. I try to break it apart, but I'm hopeful that at some point in time that will be a tool for the board and admin. That is it worth investing in a full-time person? Is it worth buying a piece of equipment? Is it worth you can look back and use those numbers.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, 12% is less than the escalation of building a house.
Oh, my God.
Construction costs. So, yeah, doesn't seem bad to me at all.
Do you want to do capital as it ties in? You want to do that too?
Yep.
Yeah,
Let's
okay.
do capital, and then from there we'll close it out with reserves.
All right, so the road capital project list that I have, I apologize for it being confusing, but I kept the FY22 budget in there purely as a comparison sake. I just wanted to try the notes that come across. So for example, the comments, the first one says Westlow County and Kings Highway. That's for 2022, not for 23. It goes with that, but I wanted to try to I struggled with how to keep the numbers together so you could follow through, and then also adding a note that related back to the column previously. So what you will see is for the FY23, the numbers that come through that correspond to the totals, you'll see I gave a description of each thing right there in basic print, basic font. So hopefully that you can delineate that. This year, the surface, pavement surface, the finish layer to complete year 3 on West Old County Road is planned. That's an 1.5 inch surface. I have budgeted to complete the paving on the dirt section. That settled out over this last year. We did a considerable amount of work, replaced all the drainage. It's ready to be paved. I had a couple of requests for it last year from a couple of the residents out there. So I have put that in for the base pavement to be installed and the surface to go over the whole length of that road. So that is budgeted. The rest of that tack and the cleaning is just the preparation to put the surface on, traffic control to allow the paving, and the $10,000 is the surface on the fire station, which we did all the base work for last year, in the drainage. So it completes year 3 of that project that we started last year. Station Road comes into year 2 of the plan. So this year, the idea would be, just like we've done in years past, reclaim the existing material, replace all the cross culverts through our ditching, complete the tree removal and all of that ledge and stuff that we do when we widen the roads. When I say widen the roads, I'm not looking to make Station Road 24 feet in the highway, but as you know, in the discussion we've had in recent about West Oak County Road, in order to post a legal speed limit, it has to maintain a minimum width of 18 feet at a minimum. So my goal is to try to get Station Road to be as close to 18 feet as possible. Some of the corners I'd like to see wide because we're constantly cutting to the inside of corners. So when you super elevate a corner, it's nice to have a little bit wider berth as you come through the corner. but I'm not proposing to widen it by, tens of feet. I'm just proposing to try to make it a little more street legal and allow us to do a speed study on it after we're done, so we can legally post the speed limit.
There's a couple bad corners there that
Yes,
are pretty scary.
the
And I'm
hills,
sure they're scary for a plow truck driver.
yes,
How generally, how wide is it?
16-ish.
A foot, not even a foot on the side.
Yeah. But you figure your parking stall when you pull into Hannaford is anywhere from 9-10 feet. And our public way is 16. So it's tight, it's just not.
It's not really easy, 2 cars to pass. in
No,
opposite
put a
directions.
plow or a school bus or a delivery truck and then you're off on the edge one way or another. So it's, I understand it, it is what it is, but I'm trying to just get us a country road, but so that 2 cars can remotely get by each other with a little bit of ease. So you can see the line items that I put along the side of it for the reclaiming, the ditching, the culverts, the mow. We always typically, that crew chipper and materials is basically the crew cost for the month being out there and all the work, the labor associated with the work. That totals $574,995 complete.
So that's doing all the, just all the small.
That's
Get-
that's
get-
everything. That's
yeah.
pitching the entire road, both sides, all the culverts, all the way to the train tracks.
Yeah.
From the town line.
Mhm.
I gotta be honest with you folks, I thought, well, should we reach out to Edgecombe? That road and the town line is right
know.
there on Route 1, right?
I
So
know.
I'm like, do we reach out? And then at the end of it, I said, nope. Newcastle's plan is Newcastle plan. If Edgecombe wants to do their 10 feet, then they can do their 10 feet. But for right now, I've got a plan right at the Newcastle line is the plan for the work to be done.
Just as an idea, when we have these 3-year plan budget, we're discussing budget for the 3rd year.
Yeah.
But as far as the last 2 years, so I'm wondering if it makes sense at all to have all 3 years budgeted.
Oh,
To present, you mean?
To
when we're looking
present
at
it,
So
just so we know what's coming along and
just for future.
yeah, you know what I mean? So because you have an idea of what the work is to be done. And obviously, bituminous is going to change in cost, 2 years from now. But if you had, some
So you had an idea?
some idea in this year, I guess the reason why, and I'm just talking specifically about West Old County Road, when we were talking about the full budget for that road, I wasn't thinking about this year's budget. So it'd be nice to know what that is, each project for a 3-year.
Sure.
Sort of.
Right, so for some projects, it'll all be history, and then for other projects, it'll be, we're on year 1.
Yeah.
Here's kind of what we think years 2 and 3 are gonna be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
and that's
that.
exactly
Yeah,
what I'm
okay.
saying.
Yeah.
I can give you a projection.
Yeah, that's all. Projection. is
Yeah.
good.
Like Station Road Year 1, where was that?
Station Road year 1, so I have year 2 of
Mhm.
the plan. I don't see the year 1. Help me. I
Yeah.
just want to see your,
It's not there.
oh, that's because Station Road you're asking where it
Yeah.
went. It was in last year's budget. So if,
But
you've
you
got
have
these-
some,
yeah, but the
you have some
numbers.
22 numbers in here, but not that one.
Right.
right, so remember when I said my maintenance budget overlaps with my capital budget?
Mhm.
So last year's maintenance budget had year 1, which was tree removal for Station Road in it.
Okay,
Got it. Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So it
This-
didn't need to be on
So it's
here.
not in the
Correct.
capital budget.
Exactly.
Got it.
'Cause I view that as maintenance. John
Yeah.
and I went back and
Yeah.
forth on how we wanted to do maintenance versus capital. Was tree cutting a maintenance item or was it a capital? Because it has to go, probably have to be done again and again and
Okay,
again. So
got it.
this year is no different. This year, line item, I gotta find it here real quick for tree cutting. Tree work, line item number 22. It's item 10742-10. That is, so this year it's Island, Cochrane, and East Old County. I mean, the list can go on and on. I budget that number, and if I can get it done cheap enough on one road, whatever I've left over, I go to the next one. I just keep using it to go forward, but.
Yeah.
So that year 1 of the plan is actually in the maintenance. Year 2,
Okay.
it goes over into capital and finishes in year 3 with capital as well.
So maybe the thing that Tor was looking for a separate document, because it would be kind of interesting to see those, all like, the 3 years of the project.
What it was.
What it was, even though, yes, budgetarily, we took some of it from this pot, the other years were from capital.
Yep.
I mean, there's different ways you could look at it. I think it would be kind of interesting to have that. It becomes a record
trends.
too.
Yep. Yep.
It's like a projection and a record.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm thinking of it too, in the projection, like, it'd be nice to know.
Yeah.
Say the Station Road project is gonna be, over the next 3 years, it's gonna be actually like 800
In total.
in total, yeah. So it'd be nice to kind of have an idea what that aggregate.
Yeah, because I could give you a rough idea what the surface would be next year based on what this year's surface number is, obviously pending material changes, but I could give you a rough idea for that. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Main Street sidewalk, if there's no other questions, I'm not trying, definitely not rushing you, I just, so please stop.
So
Yeah,
Main Street sidewalk, is that sidewalk in bad repair? I mean, I'm just thinking about all
That's
the
in
other
front of
ones.
the gas station, right?
Shuck Station.
Yeah.
In the Shuck Station. I was looking at that today, man.
Yes. So if you, I will do this. I will come get you in the morning and you come down and shovel that section of sidewalk with me. And I will let you determine what state of repair that is in January. Because it levels out a little bit during the summer, but it is a mess.
The
And
heave or something?
We've got lips along all the
Ah.
granite where it has, gone down and moved. And so in an effort just to try to do a little bit of capital on our sidewalks every year, I just picked that section of the sidewalk to do. Because the state, with the project that they've got coming with Mills Road, is going to do from there to Academy Hill.
So it's leaving the curbing, but just taking out the.
Yes,
bituminous.
exactly.
Is the
Correct.
curb in granite now?
It is.
Okay.
And on Business Route 1 in years past, I removed and reset it because they had paved it so many times that we lost our reveal.
Mhm.
And there's a whole plethora of explanations why we should have reveal for safety wise and pedestrians, so that creates a crashable surface. So, but it was so close that I really wanted to get that reveal back. That's why we reset Main Street. But in that
And that one
particular,
looks beautiful.
yeah, it came out pretty good,
Yeah.
right? And I gotta toot his horn a little bit because we had this huge debate
You have a horn?
on well, all right, how about different phrase, but you know what I'm saying. How many meetings did we have and how much time did we go back and forth on the granite curbing on Academy Hill?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Oh my
spent
God.
hours and hours and hours.
Don't
So the
wanna
board
relive
can
that.
appreciate, we made an investment on Academy Hill for granite, and long after we're all dead, they can reuse it and reset it and reuse it and reset it, which is exactly what we did. The DOT made that investment, but we took advantage of it by resetting it and reusing it. In this particular case, for this year's budget, I didn't opt to do that because the curb's in not bad shape. It's in pretty good. Still got a pretty good reveal. The state hasn't paved that section since it was redone when Main Street was redesigned.
Is it like, what was that 2009?
Yeah, it's been a while, so
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look. It's been a few years.
Yeah.
How much
Been a
is,
while.
how
Yeah,
much is
been a while.
asphalt up from last year?
About $15 a ton right now.
So,
It's almost $160 a liquid ton more than where it was.
so is that how much the percentage was? Is it?
Oh, I haven't even done it. In my world, we price things by ton. I haven't even looked at percentage
Or
last
what
year.
was it last year?
Installs was in the mid 70s to low 80s. And this year we're mid 90s to almost 100.
Oh, okay.
30.
30%.
thereabouts.
So
So
what my point was that asphalt curbing went up by 30% this year.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That was.
Great.
And we're not
About the
buying
difference
curbing.
between-
Yeah.
Is that?
And
But
we're
I
not
was just
buying
asking about
curbing.
that because
No.
that one is probably,
Yeah.
although I appreciate the problem, Joe, probably the best section of sidewalk we have in town versus like the ones that come on this road or the one that goes on Mills Road.
That's a
or-
great question. I love to be engaged in this. And you're exactly right. The reason that I didn't
Let's
was
get the most
because I didn't want to incur the cost of the curb, not knowing what the future is for this. This section of road is in some pretty disrepair. State's gonna have to pay attention. We got some drainage issues. In addition, behind the scenes, I'm aware of the water district wanting to do some pretty substantial work in a couple of areas. And I didn't want to invest in areas that they would potentially be using some of their funds, which I know they've got preliminary approval. I can't elaborate too much because it's not my position to do so, but I just know that they are working on some work. And I didn't want to go through that process and have a great sidewalk for a year and then to have every house service rip through it and have it to go through. So in an effort to continually try to improve our sidewalk and our pedestrian access, I used this section because one, it was fairly inexpensive because the curb was in good shape. We didn't need to remove it. Two, it was right in the middle of town. A lot of people would get the ability to use it. And three, I can fix it, which I have in the budget to make it a little bit wider because we made the sidewalks coming off Academy Hill with the kids to 6 foot. And I'd like to take this section to 6 foot because we asked the state to do the section in front of town office, the 6 foot as well.
Nice.
So it just gives us a little bit bigger pedestrian corridor up through.
Which way is it going in, towards the property owners?
Yeah. Yeah.
The right of way there is wider than you think. So it's not going to be close to the property.
And again, I preached my honesty and flat out disclosure in the past. I'm not going to ask the state. I'm just going to do it and see what happens. Because I don't want it to get bogged down in a whole lot of stuff when we're talking about this much space on the edge, which I know they have the right of way. But if I get into a whole lot of poking the bear, I'm going to get a lot of questions. When in fact, when we do snow removal in the winter, we're hanging off by that much right now anyways. So I just, I know they have the right of way, and anytime that we can go to the state and say, we're going to do something for you at no cost, like I know they will. But I think that pedestrian way through town is vital to where we want to be. Every parade, every social gathering that we have involves those sidewalks. So that little bit of extra space, I think, is money well spent when we start utilizing it.
Do we have any say in what the state does when it redoes the little bit of sidewalk on Mills Road that they're gonna have to redo? Uh-oh, I see looking at you.
Significant glances
I
fly around the
know,
room.
uh-oh, this is come up in conversation.
We have
obviously.
been, we had a meeting with DOT where Seth and I asked just that question, how can we capitalize on this work that you're already doing, expand the sidewalks as far as we can down Mills Road.
Put a granite curb.
Yeah, it's more complicated than we hope. We have to collaborate with the sewer district, with the water district to move their lines in order for it to be worth it. Like Seth was talking about, installing sidewalks and then having things need to be ripped up. We're going to do it. It's also putting an investment into a significant sidewalk structure onto a state road. They're not willing to do it just on their own. So we would need to budget for it and put less into strictly municipal roads in order to add the sidewalk. But I asked Seth the same thing and have been plugging for it because I know.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about what sidewalks in town get used a lot. We've got the best ones covered, but that one, there's always people walking along those roads.
Yeah, I'm totally with you.
And that-
It's yes, and in Sarah's defense, I mean, she was pushing me hard for it, and I'm like, I'm telling you, this is going to be a battle. And then we got out of the meeting, she's like, oh my God. I'm like, it's a challenge. And there are grant applications, and we did, we can explore that. And we, in particular, anytime you involve the state, there's a whole lot of bureaucracy that goes along with it, right? And so in particular to the public utility side of things, where we don't have a fully municipal public utilities division, we have a quasi-private. In order to get them to relocate themselves so that we can have a better access for the future, the town would have to get involved and actually funnel money, be the caveat for the money to flow through the town to them to do their work. In that grant process, we could capture sidewalk improvements as part of it, but the cost gets to balloon so far out of scope that it puts us out of our realm. I mean, if we could do it, yes, we just have to have a substantial budget commitment to do it. We certainly could. I mean,
You did what then?
Municipal partnership with. DOT.
Yes.
That's, I've been told that for years. The only way that you can consider this.
That's exactly what they said.
Yeah.
And they just keep pushing on that because their stance for years has been they don't do sidewalks, period.
Yes.
Even if they originally installed them, they don't care. They're not gonna do sidewalks.
Yeah.
It's often they
Which leads me right back to my point about this Main Street and the foot. I'm not trying to avoid anything, and I certainly don't want to take, somebody's property if the right of way, but I know for a fact the right of way is wide enough, and we're already utilizing it anyways, 80% of the time, winter wise, and the kids when they're walking through are walking off on somebody's property anyways. So I try to balance this request with the state because it muddies the water very, very quickly. Mills Road, we could easily go through and pave and redo sidewalks up through there, but there's no drainage. We'd be putting good money on a bad solution, and it's just a hard spot because that's the loop between there, Stewart Street, back onto Glidden, and coming around and kind of closing the whole downtown district in and have that would be great. I mean, it would be fantastic, but I would urge the board to use funds on River Road first, because at least there is some functioning drainage. If you said, no, I had some sidewalks, I would say, okay, River Road would be it then. We should go there next. Just because,
But
yeah.
you say, but there's
there's
some
sidewalks
utility
above
work
this wide.
expected there, so
Yeah.
don't do it quite yet.
Right.
Yes,
right.
exactly. Exactly, right. So that's the reason I picked that, because it was less, it wasn't so obstructive to what's happening with the water district and stuff like that, and how we want to progress with sidewalks. But I thought it was important to at least have a sidewalk element to constantly be improved or maintaining
Yeah.
and upgrading what we have to
That's
walk.
good. Okay.
So what are your items on the bottom in just the white?
Those were left over from last year. John had asked the board to come up with some items that we had last year for things that I hadn't budgeted for that we could potentially, for options in the future. And those were items that I had thrown numbers for from last year. I haven't updated them for this year, but it was just wish list and things for the board to think about. The Pleasant Street retaining wall, which, as I mentioned, I'm trying to come up with a plan for that. The Glidden cross pump engineering and survey work. East Old County Road extensive tree work. That road is just overgrown. That's a tough road and more than the maintenance budget. That's going to have to be its own capital expenditure to do some tree work out through there. As you know, there's been a long-standing problem with that first hill on East Old County Road and it being a public safety issue. So that would be something that if you had a wish list and wanted to spend money to fix.
So we would take it there and just say, okay, we'll put it in this column here.
Yeah, it was a wish list that he wanted to present so that you guys had some ideas as to, hey, if we ran into a rainbow with all money, where would we go next? Shovel ready, kind of. And that was just a quick list put together.
So Seth, what's in the year one? What streets are in the year one this year?
Yep. Great question. So Island, Cochrane Road that's the main
mentioned the
road
tree.
that would have the tree work done on it. And then any leftover money would be used to East Old County Road. So I prioritize them. First would be Island, second would be Cochrane, third would be East Old County. And that would eat up the budget. All day long.
And this the Academy Hill, is that the 1,000 feet? Is that a
Yes.
How does that where in the year phases?
It
is that?
isn't. That's an oddball
Okay.
maintenance / capital that we've done over the last 2 years.
Just-
So Academy Hill Road, town invested substantial funds in, I'm throwing a number prior to me, 10-ish, 15-ish. Yeah, it was a while ago, but in that ballpark-ish timeframe, they rebuilt it, did some drainage work and such. And what we're seeing is we're just seeing some premature failure basically in some areas. So instead of boxing it out and entering into the reconstruction, full-blown reconstruction, it's already got the culverts replaced. It's already been cut back. I've been taking a piece of it every year and just doing, I started with the worst sections and I've just been doing 1,000 feet at a time. And all I'm doing is just reclaiming it and paving it. So it's not the full plan. It's just a little bit of a modification to get the surface back to where we need to be.
So halfway between maintenance and the full plan. Okay.
Exactly. And I've just been, instead of taking all 3 miles of it, I've just been plucking away. Brian actually started it right before he left. There was a section in front of the St. Cyrs house that was pretty bad for a while. And we did that. And then Last year, I expanded on that and came back towards Academy Hill Road project. And this year, if you'll actually see down by Cochrane Road and the S corners there, it got broke up pretty good with the frost this year. So Kavanaugh, sorry. Yes, I apologize. I was gonna do that section down through there, take 1,000 feet, almost back towards the intersection. That is just starting to go. So I've been picking away at it basically as time.
Not to pick on the street that I happen to live on, but like a street like that that has low, low traffic, so doesn't raise to the level, but it's fallen apart.
Yes.
Is it not worth doing anything until you have to deal with it, or like?
Again, right, but I've been honest with you, Albert.
Yeah.
I don't have enough complaints.
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
So
Phone's gonna ring tomorrow.
I mean,
we did a stopgap measure on Pump, Cross, and Glidden. We were receiving numerous complaints. We were holding off on doing any major infrastructure work because we had some drainage, and the water district is going to do some work out through there at some point in time in the near future, we hope. And so we were trying to really hold off on it, and the complaints got to the point where John said, "You are going to do something in this section." I said, "Okay." So we just surfaced it. So that road would be a candidate for something like that, where we could do that just to placate for a while.
But that'll last a few years.
Yeah, and then it'll crack and break again, and we'll be back into it. I mean, we just found when we did the water line work this past winter, we found that whatever you call it thing in the ground, and I'm like, where does this go? I mean, we don't even know where it goes. So it's those roads that I really have been hesitant about investing a lot of money in because I just don't know. I mean, I have no idea where that drainage, if it's functioning, if anybody else is tied into it. So in order to do your road, it would be ill-advised of me to come here and say, we need to spend significant taxpayers' money on this road and not fix that because I don't know where it goes, and I'm only going to add more water to it. So it's a road that needs to have infrastructure work done to it. So when we're ready to do it, we should do it, even if it's a small section of it, but we should do it and then add on to it.
So it's just obviously, it seems like traffic counts are a significant factor in prioritizing roads.
Yes.
And that's a low traffic count, so it's not high on the list, but at some point in this, in our maintenance plan, in our 3-year maintenance plan or rebuilding plan, we're intending to get to everything in town. It's just going to take its time.
Correct.
Yeah,
exactly right. And in the meantime, that's a great example, Rob, of a street that we just did all the water line work, right? I just hate to do work and then turn around and rip it up when we do stuff. So, we really try to make a concerted effort to work in conjunction with some of these utilities so that we're not doing things twice. With that being said, Tor's point of having some projections, I can tell you that next year's budget, I would be prepared for a discussion on a substantial or the potential for a substantial project in and around the Glidden Street project if the town wants to get in on the same time frame when the water district. Notice I didn't say that they are going there 100%. I'm just
If.
Okay. There are some funds available, and the district is working on it very aggressively. And if they go through and do that, we've already invested in our drainage outlet. That's all in and installed. It would be a point where we'd want to, do we do the sidewalks and do we do the drainage? And do we complete it while it's being ripped up with them? If so, how do we fund that?
It's called getting the most bang for your buck.
Well, yeah,
You gotta toot your own horn a little bit here.
what?
You guys are doing too
You
much
gotta toot
tooting.
your own horn a little bit here. You're talking about Linden Street and the fix you did when you put that thing in to fix that whole drain.
Yes.
We talked about this.
Yes.
Because we knew it'd come up.
Yes, it's coming.
And we argued about whether or not we'd do it. And we said the little bit of money that it would cost to put it in now will benefit us later.
It does, correct. Yes. It's all in.
Still goes over the top.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, so
There's infrastructure
getting
in the
there.
ground
It's coming.
that was planned for.
We're getting there.
Nice.
it's coming, and that's why we invested in the granite curb in that one area. It looks so weird. To your point, it's pavement, and a stretch of granite in the middle.
Yeah.
Because hopefully we can tie in.
It's wider too.
It is, right. Yeah, we built it to what the rest of the standard was. But that's a real scenario that I think could very well be in your lap in the next 12 months.
Are you playing on
I like how he
saying.
gave that to you.
You're gonna be the only one left.
There's a projection for you.
I asked, right?
Yeah.
But any questions
great.
about that? Again, I'll get you the details. I will certainly work on some other, historical projections on where we've been in total project costs and how that works. That's great information. I can definitely put that together for you.
Thank you so much, Seth.
Yeah, thanks.
It's awesome.
All right.
Very cool.
Are we hitting a wall
that's
or do we
great.
want to finish with reserves?
I'm hitting a wall, but maybe we can look at how.
I think reserves, can we save reserves?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because
let's
that's a
do
bigger
that.
we can
conversation.
save reserves. It's a bigger conversation.
So I think that ties into fund balance.
Yeah,
Definitely
it does.
conversation.
Yeah.
We're gonna touch on that.
Yeah.
I think we'll hit this and we'll bounce all over the place.
Yeah.
Reserve the reserves.
When's the
Can we
next,
just say education? It actually went down.
Education went down.
wait, that's a real number?
Well,
Let me look at that again.
GSB went down, secondary went up,
Yeah,
Went down.
but net,
but net went down.
Net.
22.
See, we can end on a really nice note.
County
Okay,
went
great.
up. County went up 29, but education went down 22.
That's never happened.
Ah,
I mean,
State
not while
subsidies.
I've known.
Well,
it's
it-
never-
I think a lot, part of the GSB, I think a lot of it is state subsidy, so
You'll see the same.
we maybe shouldn't get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And maybe reduction of students too, or.
A reduction at GSB, I think.
You'll see the same when we get to our revenue section of our budget. Our state subsidies are increased,
Mhm.
but ours levels out a little bit more because our municipal revenue is down. But we'll talk about that next time. Either at our next select board meeting, or if we think that we're going to need more than 2 meetings, then we should probably schedule a special.
So
I
are we
was gonna
talking about
say-
next being May
The next select board meeting is May
9th?
Do we want to just pull one for next
9.
week to keep this ball
Seems like,
moving?
I think
Yeah.
we should,
I think
don't
we should
we're
do
gonna
that.
So
finish
that'll
that.
be the second, we'll have our next, we'll have a special select board budget meeting on the 2nd, and then our final one will be the 9th.
It's kind
If
of
we have
how
to.
we punish ourselves to, keep moving along.
Yeah.
'Cause we have to meet every Monday. And then if Monday isn't enough, then we meet on Wednesdays. If Wednesdays aren't enough, we meet on Fridays. We've never met on Fridays,
Never.
but we will meet on a Friday.
If we
Because
did something,
I have a gavel.
we did interviews on a
Yeah,
Friday.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we worked on a
Well,
Friday.
we got
before.
pizza.
Yep.
Yeah, we got pizza, right?
Wait, how did you get pizza without a contingency fund?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Very good
That's-
It was
question.
privately donated.
Petty cash.
Just,
That's right.
there is no petty cash.
You don't know.
There's no
about the
petty cash in this town.
I don't know about the petty cash. I know about the
It
petty
was in the
cash.
pencils.
Because we used it on the pizza.
Yeah.
We worked.
Okay,
with
we're
you.
not done.
All right. Do you have any, okay,
No,
great.
just-
So we have
Just the warrant.
town warrant.
I'll make a comment though about the warrant. I included a quote on accident, which shouldn't have been in there. It was a quote. It wasn't an invoice. So we subtracted that from the warrant total, which is what you see on the agenda.
Okay.
That was for the fire alarms that I was talking
For
about.
here.
For the building. Yeah.
So do I have a motion to approve the town warrant for $232,079.14?
Yep.
Moved by Karen. Do I have a second? Seconded by Rob. All those in
Wait,
favor?
I
Oh,
just want to be make a comment that has been made before about little things being bought that could be bought in Newcastle businesses rather than certain hardware store in Emerscata. So just there's an item that there are a number of stores would sell in Newcastle, and I think that's just a great habit to be in for things to be bought in Newcastle businesses.
Okay.
Point.
All right. Okay. All those in favor?
Yep.
All right, passes 5-0. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Rob, seconded by Karen. All those in favor, being adjourned. 9:29.
Hey, there were a lot of things, this was a lot of